Prepare to enter a story where everyday life is distorted. What secrets can a long mirror hide? In the mirror in room 3, we will accompany a young woman to discover that your new home has a presence that observes her from the other side of the glass. The mirror in room 3. When my mom and I moved to the new house, the room I could had a huge mirror attached to the wall. It was old, with black stains around the edges, taking the reflect more shadows than light. I didn't like it. From the first day, I feel it reflect more than it showed. The first night, I heard a faint sound, like a muffled sob. I thought it was the wine or maybe the neighbor, but when I looked in the mirror, there was steam, as if someone were breathing on the other side of the glass. I went to clean it, and I see here a woman, pale, soaked with sunken eyes and her mouth open in silent sobs. She wept while clutching her neck, as if something invisible were strangling her. I screamed, but when my mom came in, there was nothing there. Just the clean mirror and my face white with fright. That night I slept with the light on. At 3 a.m. a noise wake up. From the mirror, I go with trembling, reached out, and felt the cold, damp glass, as if someone were crying behind it. I looked again. The woman was still there, but no, she wasn't crying. She was smiling. I realized her reflection wasn't improving my movements. I was already breathing fast, and she wasn't. I stepped back. She took a step forward. Her smile stretched so far, it touched her cheeks. It whispered in a voice that seemed to come from the mirror, as if someone were speaking from inside the glass. I ran to cover the mirror with a sheet, but the crying continued all night long. It sounded muffled, desperate, as if someone were crying trapped inside. At dawn, when my mother went to the market, I mustered up the courage and lifted the sheet to prove myself that there was nothing there, but it wasn't my reflection looking back at me. It was here, and she was mimicking me a split second after every move. She clung to me, and in her eyes, I could see my room, but with two men in it. That was the last time I looked in the mirror, with me eating the neighbor's trash. Days later, a neighbor told me the garbage truck never come that night. That someone had took the mirror before, and ever since, the pattern in her house is always went in the morning, and the mirror is fogged with her stains. Have you ever heard stories warning you about places you should never go? At the last campfire, we'll explore the accidents and mistakes that lurk in the Sierra Negra forest. A legend, a campfire, and a name spoken in the night will unleash a hound that.
The lads camped. No one knows exactly what happened to the 5 hikers who went up into the black mountain forests that full night. Only one came back and they never spoke again. They said it was the goal that they got lots wild animals maybe, but the locals ignored the truth and it tell it to you whose owns. Julian, the oldest in the group, was obsessed with the occult they had read in old book that deep in the forest where the trees grow so that they block out the moon, relief an ancient curse. The spirit of the first werewolf, the lager said if you lit a campfire exactly at midnight and spoke his name out loud, he would answer. But what amongst the cowards in that he did answer with words. That night they did it as the hawker. They lowered, drank, and drank at the table. Julian shouted the name Walter. At first nothing happened but the show of wind rustling toward the leaves, then a word long, agonizing, and close the white door close. They thought it was Hood's work. Until they heard footsteps of four-legged dog. Something massive was walking between the trees. Its barking was heavy, like an Iraq full. They inspected into the feeling. Its shape was relevant, tall, hairy, its eyes that didn't reflecting what flame they absorbed them. They ran but the forest felt like it had closed in on them. On beyond, it caused them knocking, and it was enjoyed the wound. Close that to the flesh heart that didn't beat from ungefoot street. Only on made it to Thomas, the king only, the believer. He came back to being with door close and empathy eyes, and never spoke again in whose temper whenever a hears a word. Since the only dares go up back mouth during a full moon, because the wolver can still smell fair, and the house door licked to dim only.
Cemeteries are places of silence and respect, right? But what happens when I do have something to say? In the voice of St. Cemetery, an incredible young woman will live in the warning of the doom and discover that sometimes whisper secrets that should not be heard.
The voice of St. Elias Cemetery. In the village of St. Elias, no one daring to walk past the cemetery after midnight. The sacred with spirit. Lucia, a skeptical young woman who had just moved to town, decided to find out for herself. She gathered her courage, grabbed a flashlight, and stepped through the rusted gate of the graveyard just as the clock tower struck 2:11. The air was thick, as if silence itself had weight. The headstones were covered in moss, the names nearly worn away. She walked among the graves, lodging and the stories, until she heard breathing behind her. She turned quickly, noting just the wind brushing past tree flowers. Then a cracked teen pause whispered her name Lucia. The flashlight flickered, a second voice joined in. Then again, the hundreds had if the crowd itself were speaking. Lucia stepped back, tripped, and fell before a freshly dug grave carved into the stone in which glistening letters were her full name and tomorrow date. The soul began to open window from within a cold grate, hand reached out, searching for her words. Lucy screamed. No one heard her. The next morning, the groundskeeper found the flashlight still unleashing in front of the now empty grave. Since that night, every meeting at neighborhood joins the whispers in St. Elias Cemetery.
Every community has its legend of forbidden place remarried to haunted. In the cave of whisper, we will explore the figures still lurking in the darkest of an ancestral cave, with voices crying out from its depths, and what fade away those who dare to listen to him.
The Cave of Vipers. There was a cave hidden among the hills, so deep no one knew how farther it went. The old people from the village used to say, one night filled the cave bird. These sad voices could be heard, crying for help, or calling someone's name. But no one believed it until Elisa did. It was a chilly afternoon, and the young blue has a fair changed stupor heat. With a flashing in her hand, she stepped into the damp tunnel. The holes seemed to pulse as if the sound had veins. Every step she took calm, but so she noticed something strange. The echo didn't match her steps. Something else, a one walking behind her. Hello? She whispered. The sound repeated, but the voice to answer. Once here? Hello? Repeating a deep, rough voice, as if it came in from the bowels of the earth. Elisa Tembler pointed the flashing, and they saw a shadow moving fast across the ceiling. The light filled the air grew colder. Faces began to appear on the holes carving in the stone, but there is a movie. The screaming is a sound as if something had trapped him forever. Suddenly, she felt a bird on the jerk neck. She turned a flashing, and saw her on the face strange, but a hair, Tuesday, mouse, sunshot. She fell back 5. The flash did roll away, and they went out. In the total ranks, cadence of voices began usurping your name. Elisa, Elisa. The room begins, her field open, sawmill, her hole. With fan screaming, was lost in the cave's echo, which chilled it again, as if it had never been opened. Days later, villagers found her black pack, biting the grains, covering the dirt and the scratch. No, one never went in a hen. But some nights, in the wind, bowled from hills, we could string here whispering, calling the same name, as if a cave were hungry again.
Sometimes the greatest terror is not the one we can see, but in what we feel. If the foe has no face, a silent and omnipresent fog embodies a tone, rolling the line between real and nightmare. What happens when the foe calls you by your name and invites you to enter?
The fog had no face. First the sun disappeared, then me sound. The fog came what wind or wailing, discussing over the dome like a living sheet. It had no smell, it made no sound, if only murmuring. Lucia had been alone in her house when she saw the fog climbing up the window as is working fog up. Why in she silent the doors turned off the lights, dread hot log, but the mist stepped in at why then invisible at first, until I find the height with a person. She called the setback was there. The clock stepping, faking the tick-tock. She had into a long home, and in the middle of the silence, Simeon spoke with her voice, Lucia. Lucia, open your eyes. She was sure she had closed them. She ran to her room. The fog was and said no, take foaming step. That temple is training to remember how to be movement. One of their legged had with a fact that changed ever. Second, her mother's, then her own, the one with rodents at heart. She tried to lure, but the road led to the same place every time she appeared. The run to room the log fire had betting to scare her. Do you remember where you dreamed of spicy thing? Whispered her voice. Lucia screamed, but her voice came from behind her. She turned and saw their body standing by the window's mirror. Her reflection stared at her with empty eyes. You the Arlen said inside. The log covered everything. There was no more house, no less brewing, only an endless beams filling with bed that falling to no one. Lucia tried to move in, but every step locked her back to some point. She understood the light that the fight was amplified. Its It was a coincidence, and she was already bored of it.
Nice of the brain string sound, but what happens when those noises become loud? In the noise in the early morning, a two is distributed by driving something unknown and describing presence. What is looking for in the dark? And what find the wise those to hear it?
The noise abdomen, with house almost 3 in the morning, when the silence of village now broken. A heavy drawing sound approach from the hall room. Don Mateo Julius slept beside the window, always up, startled. The noise felt as if something enormous were moving slowly. He thought it was the wounding her an animal, but when the sounds stopped right in front of his house, his heart froze. He pulled the curtain aside. Nothing. The street house empty dark, only the mist breathing slowly. Then he heard it again, the heavy stretch hand and murmur from the ground. 3 knocks on the door, he ounce shaking the glass. He turned his flashlight and heard his name whispered from the other side. The flashlight flickered and out. Motionally speak inside house, opening the door. The air grew thick, impossible to breathe. On the floor, deep marks like bones drawing through the shade when the night used to quieted. You can hear it again. The street looking for another house to stop at.
Forests can be labyrinths of shadow and secret. In the edge among the trees, we will accompany Alicia on a path that rolls, where the trees whisper and the air breathes what earths are hidden among the rocks. And what price will she pay for getting lost in this place?
The echo among the trees. Alicia ventured into the place and Duxville. She was looking for a shortcut back to the village, but the path seemed to multiply itself as close in on itself. Every step the took was accompanied by a tree crunch, and if something were following her through the underworld, the air smudging of rotting dampness, and the ground was covered with leaves that seemed to move on their own. She tried to turn back, but everything looked the same: twisted trunks, branching, stretching out like arms, shadows that seemed to Bratty. The sun disappeared completely, and an unnatural silence wrapped around her. She heard it, a faint whisper, barely audible, repeating her name. Trembling, she turned with her flashlight but no one was there, only a hollow trunk with something inside it, something that moved. She moved the leg closer and sat at hat, drew a black knight, pushing itself deeper into dark hollow. As she stepped back and tripped over something soft, when she pounced, the flashing, the crunchy scream cadence in her throat. It was a body, or what was left of one, covered in roots that buried its trunk out like living worms. Its broken face is washed with the wind, and the whispers were clear and stale. She ran aimlessly, grazing into roots and roots, the fleshling field, and without in total wreckings, the group seemed to breathe beneath the feet. Something grabbed her ankle, the claw reaching out from the earth. She fell and the soul began to swallow her slowly with and cloud, and it's the crop itself were hungry. They screamed until her voice broke, but the pace absorbed the sounds, devouring every nose. The last thing that was a face made rushes, with a crooked smile carried through back, with a beard's windlock form again. They found nothing but her broken fleshes and an ape tree, younger, withered, with something like a ham tripped inside its trunk. They say that if you walk through the paths at dusk, you can still hear the whisper of woman calling for help, though she no longer as mouth.
Academic pressure can be overwhelming, but what happens when a teacher takes it to the extreme? In the course right, we will explore the dark secrets of a teacher who does not tolerate what pushing them awaits us who dare to challenge his authority.
Title: The Course Grade.
The clock read 3:07 a.m. when Emilio woke up with a start. His heart was pounding, his body drenched in sweat. That very afternoon, Professor Salazar had told him in front of the entire class that he was failing, that there was no hope for him. Everyone laughed. Emilio didn't. There had been something in the teacher's eyes he couldn't forget, a strange gleam, as if he enjoyed bringing him down. That night, Emilio decided to stay up late, staying determined to prove he could pass the final exam. But his notes weren't where he had left them. Instead, on the desk lay a yellow sheet of paper written in red ink.
Fate for Lane!
He thought it was a paragraph from one of his classmates. He crumpled it, but when he turned toward the window, he saw his reflection, and behind him, for just a second, the face of Professor Salazar, pain with sunken eyes and a twist, impossible smile. Emilio's heart nearly stopped. He turned on the light, but the reflection was gone. He took a deep breath, trying to calm himself, when he heard something drawing beneath his bed. "Professor," he whispered, not knowing why. A sick silence filled the room until a hoarse voice, as if coming from a rotten road, replied,
You said you stayed, but you late.
The floor began to shake, books flew open by themselves, and the letters in his notebooks twisted together to form a single word.
Faint.
He tried to run, but the door wouldn't open. Sadly, a thin greyish arm reached out from under the bed and grabbed his ankle. Emilio screamed, kicking and clawing at the floor. As he was dragged into the darkness, in the last instant he managed to what was holding him. Professor Salazar, with whole as ein sagging skin repeating over and over.
No one lies in my class. No one passes. No one leaves.
The next morning, when his mother entered the room, the desk was covered in exam papers, all with the same word written in bold.
Failed. And Emilio was never seen again.
The Day of the Dead is a celebration to honor our loved ones. But what happens when we invoke those we shall not? In the altars that shall not be light, a young woman decides to pay homage to her grandmother in an abandoned house. What forces will she honor by lighting the candles, and what price will she pay for remembering the forgotten?
The altar that should never have been lit. It was November 2nd in the small town of San Animas. Everyone was setting up the bright colored altars, white candles, flowers, and flour. Everyone except the house was at the end of the name's alley. No one had dared enter if the whole years, until Lucia did. Her grandmother had died a mother early, and Lucia wanted to honor her memory. The house smelling of wax and the dust. She set up a small holder, white filling paper, then her marigolds, a cup of water, and an old photo of your grandmother, taken before she went bleeding. When Lucia lit the first candle, the eternal AC.
The final sheen of television can be a mirror. In lights that never go out, we will explore the dark secrets of the studio where artists shape eternity. What praise are they willing to pay for fame? And what horrors are hidden behind the cameras?
Lights that never go out. When Sofia won the constant to work on the big TV set, she thought her life would change. She loved the artists, the spotlights, the makeup, and the applause. But she never imagined that the studio had something much darker than fame. The first time she entered, she noticed all the covers with old photographs of actors and singers. They all smiled, but there was something strange in the eyes. They seemed to follow her. Her was a man in grey suit, and the first smile won her. The lights must never go out, never. That night the shoot ended late. Everyone left, and Sophia had to close the set. She turned off the cameras but left the lights on, just as she had been told. However, when she passed the main dressing room, she heard whispers. She thought someone had forget the thing, but when she opened the door, what she saw froze her blood. The photos from her are also on the mirror, but their reflection moved on the arm. A famous singer lifted her from the glass and the train at her to you and to shine forever. Sophia stepped back, tripping over a chair. All the mirrors began to shake, and from they came thin hands covered in makeup with long nails and gold skin. The lights flickered, and with each flash, a different face appeared: models, actors, presenters. All these stared with empty eyes and sound mouths. They promised us eternity, but eternity hurts. The lights started going out one by one, despite the warning. In the darkness, the laugh of a distant audience echoed to the set. Sophia ran for the door, but the stage had changed. The stands were filled with monstrous figures covered in dots, their faces like a match. A camera was still on, pointing directly at the hair on the big shirk. Her face appeared, smiling, flawless, a perfect. Behind her, the other artists were watching, welcoming a new number. The last tight exposed sun filled the studio. The next morning, the technicians found the cameras recording by themselves, and amongst the photos of the wall, a new heart had appeared. Sophia, with her perfect smile and eyes that followed anyone who walked by. Since then, they changed the airport lights turned on the night for no reason. Turn on floodlights, please.